It's Bigfoot Collectors Club with Bryce and Michael. I know a ghost story or two. Let's do this.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Bigfoot Collectors Club, the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history and share stories of high strangeness. I am your host, Michael McMillan. With me always is your other host,
Bryce Johnson.
And our super producer,
Riley Bray.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the clubhouse.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That super
it?
producer really does have a nice ring to it.
It's
I'll
good.
take it. I like it.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Congratulations.
It's especially fitting when I'm struggling to set things up in the moments while you're just running out of small talk.
The clubhouse, the studio's quickly becoming the Millennium Falcon in Empire Strikes Back, where it's just like we're trying to escape Hoth. The Snow Troopers and Darth Vader are marching through Echo Base, and we are trying to take off.
You knew the name of the base.
Oh, I know way too much.
Okay.
That, of course, is the voice of our guest. He is a brilliant actor. Bryce, why don't you introduce your friend today?
Oh, yeah. Well, I've known this guy for over 10 years, and we did I'm going in and out. Is that all right? Can you hear me?
That's because you keep turning your head away from
No,
the
You have to
that's
talk
not it.
into the microphone.
I hear it, but I don't hear anything now.
You're good. You sound great.
Yeah, I'm going...
Check his cans. Okay,
all
guys,
right,
the
that's all right.
stormtroopers are advancing.
Oh, yeah, right.
Dun, dun, dun,
We gotta get 3PO up the ramp. Come on.
Now. Yes. So I've known this guy for, oh my God, 10 plus years. We did a Bobcat Goldthwait movie together called Sleeping Dogs Lie that went to Sundance, and we've been kept in touch ever since.
Because you're awesome.
Oh, and vice versa. Let us introduce to you actor, writer, director, savant, Jack Plotnick.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
I love being here. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
I
Thanks
do
for
not
being
know
here.
what a savant is, but I'm going to guess it's French for really smart.
That's basically exactly right.
Pretty
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Oui.
Jack is one of the 5 actors that I've seen in my less than as many pilot auditions this season.
Oh, yeah.
So we were telling war stories before we started rolling.
Yes.
Always good to have a buddy, a war buddy out, here with us in the clubhouse. Jack, how are you?
Fantastic.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, spooked because I feel there's an empty chair here, and I think like Bigfoot's going to walk in at any second to sit down.
Yes, like Passover, we set a place for Bigfoot at our clubhouse.
Oh dear.
That's just a broken chair that I got tired of sitting on
Lovely.
week
Okay.
after week.
Well, then there
Again,
you go.
Millennium
That took the
Falcon.
mystery out of that.
Yeah.
Just an extra seat.
No, but I'm fascinated by all things weird and mysterious, and I like to say that I'm like 80% will believe in anything.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
so what's your personal paranormal history? How did you
boy.
become fascinated? Have you
Well,
ever
I
encountered
have a weird
anything?
thing where I really, really am fascinated by ghosts, but desperately never want to see one. and whenever I meet a new person, it's always the first thing I say: "Have you seen a ghost or UFO?"
Right.
But I don't. Whenever I go to like a new hotel, I'm gonna right before I go to bed. I'm like, please do not show yourself to me. I don't want to wake up and see an old woman in a rocking chair at the foot of my bed, because I do believe if you tell them that, they won't show up. And then again, 20% of me is like, this is bullshit. But anyway,
Right.
I know I do believe if you live in a place that's haunted, whatever haunted means to you, I believe you know it. And I know I lived in a pretty weird place that was probably haunted in college for 1 year. My sophomore year of college, this house was really weird to be in. And everyone that lived there was me and like 6 other people, we all felt it. And like shades would just like go shoot up. And
Are you sure the building just wasn't up to code?
that too?
Because some of the places I lived in Pittsburgh in college were
Pittsburgh, Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, are you Carnegie Mellon as well?
Yes.
Oh, what? Get
I
out
lived
of town.
in what used to be called the Dermat Frat, this house and every time they would tell you, dude, this is haunted, but have fun. And yeah. But here, you want to hear the most ghosty story?
Sure.
Clearly.
Okay.
No, save that one for
the
inside
other
the
one.
actor's studio.
So I'm laying in bed, and everybody's really gone to bed at this point. I know everybody's home. My friend Chris, though, he's in the living room watching TV. It's late at night, and I hear, because my bedroom is closest to the stairs that you use to get up to the first level of our house, I hear clomp, 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 and I was like, and I'm just about to drift off to sleep, but I thought, who is coming in? Like, I thought everybody was home, and then I go to bed, and I fall asleep. Now, the next day, I talked to my friend Chris, and I said, who came in? What was that? He goes, you heard that? I was like, yeah. He's like, I also heard somebody coming up our stairs. And the thing is, those stairs basically put you in the living room where he was. And he said he was watching the door to see when this person would come in, and they didn't come in. There was nobody there. But then to get to the rest of the house, you have to walk through the living room and open a door to get to the rest of the house. He said the door just opened by itself.
Yikes.
So it was, but this was pretty de rigueur. Is that French? And for this place, and actually a girl I lived with in this house, she swore that she saw the ghost, and that she said, I woke up one morning, an old man was sitting on the radiator, looked at me.
Trying to keep them buns warm.
Right.
Trying to keep the buns warm. Thank you. It's cold in Pittsburgh.
Why are they always watching people sleep? It's like they're
That's what
always at the
I
foot
know.
of the
That's
bed.
why I say, do not look at me.
Don't sleep. Whatever you do not go to sleep.
That is a thing you could do, I guess.
It's the only way you can fight
That's-
Freddy Krueger.
That's what we miss the most, being in the spirit world. We really miss sleeping.
So we just like
Really fun to watch you guys.
we really love to
You're
look in
really
on it.
good at it now too. We close our eyes if you masturbate, but we want to see you sleep.
To be honest, I did this a lot when I was alive too. I would just walk into people's bedrooms and sit on radiators and just watch them drift
Yeah,
off.
my bad. Sorry, it's just a habit. So
I'm a pervert.
and he he stood up and just walked out through the window, just sort of disappeared through the wall. I mean, she was a sort of a kooky girl, but I believed her because that was how weird this house was.
yeah, that's
I mean, all those houses in Pittsburgh, like Squirrel Hill, Shady Side, I feel like every single one of those is haunted. I don't know what Carnegie was doing to his factory workers 100 years ago, but I feel like so many of them must have like died of black lung or something, because we lived in a house in Shady Side, and I've told this story before, where I was in the shower and heard the back door open, close, footsteps come in. I thought it was my roommate, and I was like, hey, what's up? No answer. Came out. The door was deadbolted on the inside, and like no one was in there. And my buddy was like, nah, I was at rehearsal. But my bedroom at that same place always felt, it was always weird, because there was like this old walk-in closet that you had to like duck to get into. It was more of a crawl space.
Ew.
And I could have sworn that is where
Bodies were hung.
that's where the entity was, because every time I would like go into that closet, I would just feel like something watching me from the very back of the closet. And one night
creepy.
I was sleeping in that bedroom, and I woke up because I felt two hands pressing on my bare back, like just not even like pushing me down,
Yeah.
just like
trying
On
to
your-
massage-
on your
me
bare
up.
trying to
buttocks?
massage
on my
you.
bare buttocks. No, just on my like shoulder blades.
Yeah.
And it woke me up, and it was as if someone had just come in and placed their hand.
Oh, God,
It
no.
wasn't like
and
one
yet
of those
you
sleep
kept
paralysis.
staying in that room?
I didn't have a choice. Also, it was like $200 a month. It
Can
was
I just
great.
put it out to your audience? You have a choice where you sleep.
I don't think I do.
I think you do.
That's Bryce's advice: is just move
Always
out.
just move. Yeah.
Yeah. Over water, does the water help? I once heard it was something like over water, like they can't cross water.
Oh,
no?
I don't know. Well, water always seems to be involved in paranormal activity, whether it's like ghost UFOs.
Water's a
Bigfoot.
gateway often
Yeah.
for interdimensional entities coming through.
Yeah.
It really
To
is,
this,
yeah.
this.
That's why I only drink alcohol.
Yeah. Well, I did that for 10 years, and that didn't seem to stop him. But
Those were inner demons, Bryce.
oh, right. I get those confused.
Different demons.
My
So,
bad.
growing up, where did you grow up, Jack?
In Ohio.
Okay. And were there any local legends, urban
Well, I
legends?
was terrified of the house that my parents moved me into.
Why?
Speaking of like wishing you could move. Well, we were in this adorable, suburban track house, and my mom's like, let's move to this old house that was originally a log cabin in the Lincoln, back when Lincoln was alive. Oh, wow. And then they just kept adding to it. But the reason why I was terrified of this house, I think, is, by the way, I'm really young right now, and we move into a house where my mom shared with me that the woman who lived there right before us told her that she would go out to the garden in the backyard to talk to Satan.
Oh, geez.
And my mom shared this with me because thought, of course I'll tell my, 9-year-old.
Wow.
It sounds like a lost Merchant Ivory film.
Yes.
Tea with Satan.
Yes.
I'll meet you by the dandelions tonight.
And her son was this fat, scary-looking kid who was obsessed with the movie Jaws. So he would spray paint. Do you remember the poster of the Jaws coming out of the water, that shape?
Yeah. Sure.
He would spray paint it all over, especially in the dungeony basement. There's never been a scarier basement than this one. And he would spray paint it all over. And he actually had a pet shark in our bathtub. So anyway, so they leave with their weird, spray painted, crazy satanic insignias.
You know that kid grew up to become Banksy, right?
Oh, there's a happy ending. So when I would get home from school as a kid, I would go directly to the kitchen to get a knife and walk through the house and just make sure that every closet was empty.
Wow.
That's kind of brave,
Ready
actually.
to stab a fool, yeah.
I guess my plan was to stab the thing.
And when were you diagnosed with general anxiety disorder?
Oh boy. Well, so that's what I teach. Just how to get over anxiety.
Yeah.
And I guess that was the beginning of it.
I'm sorry, we have to go back to a couple things. One, the woman who talked in the garden with Satan.
Yeah, I wanted
and
to hit
two,
that.
the shark in the bathtub. Can we just...
Well, the problem is I was so young.
Right.
I mean, these were the details shared with me, which should not have been shared with me. So actually, I think I must have seen the movie Psycho because the first year of my life in that house, I wouldn't shower without being able to see my mom through the shower door so she would have to just sit on her bed while I showered.
Right.
That is very much like Psycho, but not in the way that you're thinking.
Brilliant. Turns out I'm Norman.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh shit! I never thought of it that way.
Showering in front of your mother, wielding a knife while wandering around the house.
Wait a minute,
Jack. I think we've hit upon something
Oh my
here.
God, I'm Norman.
Congratulations on your breakthrough.
This is that moment in the movie when all these flashbacks come to me, and I remember wearing the dress and killing the child, and I'm like, that was me.
Putting the car in the quicksand.
You were the shark in the bathtub too.
Oh shit, you're killing me. That is so funny. I deserve that.
Oh my God.
But the answer is I don't have any more details for you. Because it was.
But
I was very young.
I'm fascinated by the girl going out to talk to Satan in the garden. That's so specific.
That was
I
Shark
know.
Boy's mom?
Yeah.
What was going on in that house?
Yeah, very scary.
Weird.
Yes?
No, I was just go on, please.
No. Well, I have a UFO story.
Oh, great.
yeah.
I
didn't want to rush to that because I don't know how,
Well, I want to follow up on Ohio a little bit.
Okay.
In this area, would you remember any? This is a question that I'm sort of starting to ask our guests more and
Every
more.
city has Walla Halla. Well, we called it Walla Halla Road, but it's that road where the kids went down, and then the guy with the hook kills the boyfriend, and the hook is on the car door. So yeah, we have that street.
Oh wow, I've never heard of that. Walla Halla?
What?
Yeah, no, that's a first.
No, the urban legend where the girl, and then she hears dripping on the car roof, and it's her boyfriend. They pull away, and the hook is left in the car door.
Right,
man.
right. So you had that urban legend. We had the I can't remember what it's called. I've been there where it's Gravity Hill, where the cars push back up.
Oh yeah, I love that story.
Up the road, and if
did it work?
It did, but I feel like it was an optical. We definitely put the car in neutral and it rolled backwards, but I think it was an optical illusion where, because of the grading, it looks like you're rolling uphill, but I feel like it's got to be down.
It's like that
It's like a
house
hill on a hill.
Yeah, it's a hill on a hill, dude.
It's like that house at Knott's Berry Farm where all the pool balls go up into the
I love
pocket.
that.
Yeah, like with those mystery spots that you see alongside the road as you're driving up PCH.
No,
or
I don't
something.
think we had any real.
You don't remember any local like cryptids or monsters, Bigfoot stories or anything?
Oh, I wish. No, and I did a lot of creek walking. I wouldn't have done it if I'd known there was a Bigfoot around. So I'm glad nobody told me any Bigfoot stories.
Well, every time you're walking down that creek and you look
Ohio
back,
Grassman.
and there was only two footsteps. There was only one pair of footsteps.
That was Jesus carrying me?
That was
right.
Bigfoot
Well,
carrying. That was when Bigfoot was carrying you.
Oh.
No, I went there too. Yeah. I was like, oh, I love that poem. Yeah.
So what's the UFO story? And was this in Ohio?
No, this was not too long after I moved to L.A. It was definitely unidentified because I have still no idea what that possibly could have been. And I always wanted to see a UFO, but I also, whenever I'm out among, a starry night and it's really like dark and you really see all the stars and you see the whole sky above you, I get really freaked out looking up at it because I think about that huge shape hovering right above you.
Yeah.
Like that concept of a huge shape hovering over you has freaked me out my whole life. So my experience wasn't like that, thank goodness, because that would have been too much for me to handle. But it was, the reason why I remember this, that I went outside, it was the windiest night ever of my life in LA, because there is no wind in LA but once every 5 years, and then all of a sudden you get wind and you're like, and so I went outside because it was crazy windy. It was late at night, and I was out on the roof of our carport, and I look up in the sky and I see like about 7 or 8 little lights all flying together.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, my brain is trying to figure out what it is because I've never seen anything like this. And it was far, far away. And I thought, well, that's got to be a whole bunch of helicopters flying in perfect unison.
I was going to ask if the lights were in uniform or if they were like dancing about.
No, not at all. They were just little pinpoints of light, and they were kind of, I guess you could say, in an oblong formation, all flying very, very slowly across the sky, but pretty far away. And my mind thought, well, that has to be helicopters. And then this is the moment I got really freaked out. I realized that as they slowly traveled together, the area in the middle of them was black. It was blocking out the stars behind them. And that's when I realized, this is a huge, huge object slowly moving across the sky. And again, this was crazy wind because, of course, my mind wanted to go, that's a balloon. It's a balloon. It's a balloon, Jack. But no, there was no possible way it was a balloon, and that's not even what an air balloon would look like.
Yeah.
But it was huge and so slowly moving across the sky. My heart was racing, and I knew, Jack, this is something unexplainable. And I couldn't even, it didn't look anything like sort of, maybe the way you think an experimental governmental plane would look like. But also, it was moving too slow for that.
How long did you observe it for?
10 minutes?
Wow. And
the whole time, my heart racing.
And did you see it like take off or anything, or did it just go out of distance?
No, it just went out of
Your field of view.
Yeah. So anyway, that was my one experience. That's not quite as thrilling as what you described, like dancing, colorful lights.
No, that wasn't even my. I think that's pretty
a craft.
awesome.
It sounds like, yeah. There's not a lot of people that get to see that stuff. I mean, well, actually, there is, but.
I was just asking in terms of like what the behavior of the craft was like.
Yeah, I don't think the lights had color and they didn't blink, and it was just a huge shape outlined in these like 8 lights.
Well, that I think is important because a lot of times you hear these stories and you think that it's like the Phoenix Lights stuff where it's like you think the lights themselves are the individual craft, but oftentimes they're connected by a larger mass.
They block out the stars, yeah.
Well, when I noticed that, I'll never
Details
forget, because
really
that's
cool.
when the adrenaline started to go crazy, when I realized that. Because
Right.
my brain could accept it if it was, a bunch of helicopters.
And did you know which direction it was headed? Was it heading out towards the ocean or?
No, it was heading northeast.
Wild. Did you ever think of reporting it or anything like that?
No.
No. Most people don't, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known who to say it to. And this is before I even had if I had a cell phone, it was like that first one with the antenna. There was internet
Right.
There weren't all these websites where you could like go, hey guys, I saw.
Yeah, right. That's wild. Did you feel did anything happen before or after that was strange or odd or?
Just sort of nonstop bleeding from my eyes.
Yeah, that's totally normal.
Normal.
Yeah.
That just
Nothing
goes
to worry
with the
about.
territory. Yeah,
No.
It seems to be cleared up now, which is good.
No, it isn't.
Oh.
It's coming out of other places, but you wouldn't.
got it.
Don't worry about it.
Wow,
Wow.
that's rough. That is difficult.
That's wild. So go ahead.
No, we're talking over each other
It's okay.
so much today. We're just
It's
so excited
okay.
by a UFO story. Bryce,
I know.
please.
I was going to say, so where do you think your obsession with UFOs come from? Or have you always just been fascinated with the idea or the topic?
We're on the
That's
same page
interesting.
because that was my question. Too. That was my question.
Well, as we were talking about Empire Strikes Back, like I've always been obsessed with sci-fi, Close Encounters, and then Empire Strikes Back, I was like friggin' obsessed with. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's more just I love that kind of otherworldly stuff, and I believe in that sort of higher power. We're all connected, and that would mean that you can have thoughts beyond yourself. empaths, but more importantly, psychics. Like I really believe in that stuff. I have a great psychic story for later if you want to hear.
Yeah.
But well, I'll just quickly tell it. My friend wrote the movie.
Take all the time you need.
Yeah, tell it slow.
Tell it nice and slow.
Ew.
You just
I feel naked. My friend, I was friends with the woman who wrote Bring It On. It's that cheerleader movie that
Yeah.
was huge, right? Okay.
I was in Bring It On Again.
You were?
Yeah.
Oh, God, what a clever title.
I won the Spirit Stick in that. They the cheerleaders who I did the routines with, they awarded me at the end of the movie the actual coveted Spirit Stick.
Wow.
Oh,
dude.
God, what do
And
you got to
it's-
do to get that?
Well, you just got to have a great attitude. And they were like, Bryce, we present you with this Spirit Stick, and it's never touched the ground because your spirit has never been that low. And I was like, oh, I think that's the verbiage. But so yeah, I kept it. I gave it to my daughter. But anyway,
I love that.
Yeah.
So it really is a stick?
Yeah, it's like a
from
yellow.
you
it's
pull
a
off
yellow,
a tree?
No, it's like a
Find
baton.
on the ground?
It's like a baton. Go get a switch, boy. No, it's
Wow.
It's like a yellow baton, and then they, So, which is funny because I showed up to rehearsals completely hungover, and I was like, "Listen, just so you know, I can't stay all day." So I really must have turned it around.
Love your honesty.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I just love the idea of you just being like, just reeking of Jägermeister around like a pack of 17, 18-year-old girls.
Yeah,
Just
right,
like
right.
the biggest dirt bag.
I love what you guys are doing, but I got to leave in about a half hour.
Have you girls know about animal mutilations, right?
Anyway, so go
So
on.
she was kind of just feeling low, or felt aimless. She hadn't actually finished writing the movie yet, but she was deep into the process of writing Bring It On, and she went to see a psychic because she was working on a few things, didn't know what to do, feeling lost, wanted the psychic to maybe point her in a direction. Now this psychic, he listens to you, and as he's listening to you talk about, he's writing on a tablet of paper, and then but what she's talking about is no details about her life. She's just introducing herself, blah, blah, blah. Now, at this point, Bring It On was not called Bring It On. It had a working title of Cheer Fever. Cheer Fever was what she was thinking of calling it. So
Cheer Fever again doesn't have the same ring
exactly.
to it.
Well, that's why it never got made. But so anyway, she's just talking, saying, "Hi, my name's Jessica," this and that, and he's writing the tablet. And she finishes talking, and he looks at the tablet, and he says, because he's written this down, he says, "What's cheer virus?"
Weird.
She goes, "Cheer virus? You mean cheer fever?"
Whoa.
He's like, "Yeah, you need to keep working on that."
She should
He's
have
like,
named
no,
it
Cheer Virus.
I wish the movie was named Cheer Virus.
With that cheer
That
virus
is-
again.
That is a great horror story idea.
I don't
horror
know
film.
if it would have made as much money. But you're right. It's a great horror film.
I beg to differ. Copyright
That's
Bigfoot
wild.
Collectors Club.
Cheerleading's already a horror film. My God, those girls can break your neck. Don't do that.
Not if Bryce is throwing you in
That's
there.
true. Yeah.
I always said it was like weightlifting with girls. It was like,
Totally.
totally. You
But
just,
you dip a finger in. It's more fun than weightlifting.
oh boy.
Sorry.
That wouldn't
You
have
don't
won me
really
the Spirit
do that.
Stick.
Yeah, exactly. Don't do that, boys.
Well, that's wild.
Yeah, it's
So-
a great story. I went to a psychic because I wanted that cheer virus moment, and she got some stuff wrong, but she got a lot of stuff really right, like uncanny stuff about my dad, who has no presence on the internet, and he really died too early for that, and she
Yeah.
just
Oh.
basically knew everything about him, and his mother's name, his wife's name, and his girlfriend's name, and what we did as a family. And I was sobbing when she was talking about that.
Whoa.
That was heavy.
So that holds water with you, being
Oh,
able
yeah.
to tap into
The section about my dad, I guess I have it on tape, is very, because I was there with him when he died, and the stuff that she said he was saying to me, I have no explanation for it because no one could possibly know any of it.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's pretty powerful.
That is really wild, man.
And the weird thing too is one thing she mentioned about my dad that I was like, well, I've never heard of that. She said he's standing on Heather's Mound. I think that's what it's called, Heather's Mound, but I may be saying that wrong. And he's talking to us from Heather's Mound. And I was like, I don't know what that is. I've never heard of it. Well, I looked up my hometown. There's a Heather's Mound within a mile of my house. But it was just this weird Indian burial ground, and I've looked at pictures of it off of Google, and it's just sort of a little tiny acre of a park with some trees. So I thought that was very, very
Have you gone
interesting.
there?
No.
Would you ever think about it? Maybe
No.
you should visit. Okay.
He was there, not me.
Right,
And
I
he
don't
didn't
know.
say, come to me.
Right.
Come to me
He didn't
now,
say, I
boy.
buried our family fortune there.
Right. That
I
would
mean,
get me
read
there.
between the lines, Jack.
Damn.
He actually did some illegal things and stole quite a bit of money from the government. And we always had this.
Right on.
My dad is fascinating. He was the vice president of Hustler for a time.
Really?
And yes, and when Larry Flint got shot, as a little kid, I didn't even know Larry Flint got shot. I just knew we were going on a family vacation to Disney World very quickly. Kids, get in the van.
Right.
And all the way down to Disney World, my dad was recording everything that had happened at the Flint Industries while he was there into a recorder. He didn't know if he was going to get shot next.
way.
Nobody knew who had shot him
Right.
at the time. So my dad's a fascinating person, but he had this old soda machine he bought, kept in our garage, and then my sister had it when he died. We never got into it, and my sister burst into it, and we were really hoping we would find all of this money. It was nothing.
Right.
Oh, wow. You know that duffel bag full of cash is somewhere.
It's somewhere. Heather's Mound.
Heather's
I
Mound.
think you've got now. There's like going to be at least one Bigfoot Collectors Club
Yeah.
listener who's out there with a shovel tomorrow morning.
No, it's literally an
mentioned it's
Indian burial ground.
We get 10%
Do not-
commission.
Don't dig those
You're
up.
gonna have a poltergeist situation on your hand. No, Shining. Shining is the one.
Yeah.
And Poltergeist.
No, poltergeist. They moved the.
Oh,
I
they just
just
moved the
rewatched
bodies.
it
Yeah,
because
yeah.
my memory was it was Indian. It wasn't.
Not, you're right.
Yeah, it was Shining where that was built on an Indian burial ground. Yeah. In the movie, not the
Yeah.
book. Yes,
Right.
that
Right,
movie
right,
is
right.
one of my top 5.
Ooh,
Stanley Hotel. Yeah.
still gives me nightmares.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
That's wild. So do you still see psychics to this day, or?
No, but I not at all. But I went to a bit of a psychic event once where the woman gave me something that really helped my entire life. She said, "You have angels around you who are ready to do your bidding, and when you state a desire, they fly off and make it happen. But if you state a desire and you change your mind, you have." She literally gave it like a time. It's like 60 seconds to clear cancel. You just say, angels, clear cancel. But I got to tell you, I have used clear cancel, and so have the friends I've shared it with so many times, because we all have that moment where we go, oh, God, I hope I just want to stab this woman, or I hope this plane I'm on just crashes. You know, where you just have a crazy thought, you know, and I'm not saying you really want it, but you have a crazy thought. And it used to sort of bug me because I was like, oh, I wish I hadn't thought that. And now I just go, clear cancel.
Clear cancel.
Clear cancel. And then my angels won't go out and make it happen.
This sounds like a karmic murderous Siri. Like
Yes. It is like
it's a little
Alexa,
scary. Yeah.
clear
Wow.
cancel. And then another psychic at a dinner party gave me something that I've shared with all of my actors. This is one of the very base of what I teach in my acting workshop. Is she said the line, "Release and destroy your need." For some, whatever, I don't remember what we were talking about. And that resonated with me so powerfully, and I realized it was kind of the key to me getting over my anxiety, was this concept of releasing and destroying my need to impress people or to book this or that job. And that's where I got that, and I've turned it into these, what I call actor affirmations, that basically makes it so you can go to an audition and just have a good time instead of being filled with anxiety. And that's all. Everything I teach you can read for free on my website, jackplotnick.com, and you click on teacher, and there's a free ebook with a lot of stuff to help actors, but also a lot of stuff to help anybody get what they want from life and to let go of their anxiety. I mean, these affirmations work even if you're just trying to like get a date, you know?
So you weren't kidding. You really do teach about like overcoming anxiety and that stuff.
That's the most important thing I teach, because acting's so damn easy, because it's just playing pretend. What I teach is what is how to get out of your own way so you can enjoy how easy and fun acting is.
And I can testify, I've been going to your class for off and on for the last 10 years or so. And it is, what you do is like a marvel. It's so incredible.
Thank
you have
you.
such a poignant way of like just dissecting not only what's happening in a scene, but what's happening with somebody who's trying to do the scene.
Oh, thank you.
It's an amazing gift.
Thank you. But you don't have to come to my workshop. You can just read my free book. Everything I teach is in there. It's called New Thoughts for Actors. It's on my website,
Yeah, it's incredible. I read it.
jackplotnick.com.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back. We're going to play our favorite game, Bullshit or
Yes.
Believe It, and then we're going to hear about that death story.
Okay, cool. I truly believe that this is the newest and greatest version of a Rorschach test. It's really like a window into one's psyche.
Oh dear God!
It's time for bullshit or believe it.
can I
Jack,
lower a
Let's
shade?
see
Jack's
who
been
you
explaining the
are.
rules over break.
Where are the curtains?
On your mark, get set, ghosts,
Believe it.
UFOs,
Believe it.
Bigfoot,
Oh.
Hey,
Bullshit.
remember where you are.
angels,
Bullshit.
gnomes,
Bullshit.
fairies,
Bullshit.
unicorns,
Bullshit.
Loch Ness Monster,
Ooh. Believe it.
alien greys,
Fucking believe it.
parallel universes,
Believe it.
shapeshifters,
Bullshit.
mermaids,
Bullshit.
heaven,
Oh, believe it.
Hell.
Bullshit on heaven. Oh, but bullshit on hell, definitely.
dragons,
Bullshit.
yeti,
Bullshit.
elves,
Bullshit.
ESP,
Believe it.
chupacabra.
Believe
Should've
it.
done that. I'm
You
doing
are.
it like Bryce. We got yelled at Tom from Tom Link. By,
That's racist.
yeah, pretty much.
He's angry about everything. Don't worry.
Demons,
Bullshit.
Atlantis,
Bullshit.
life on other planets,
Believe it.
world peace,
Believe it.
peace in the multiverse.
Bullshit.
That's the only one that's ever bullshit.
So are we?
great.
Are multiverses?
There's too many universes, and there's so many assholes out there. How are we going to possibly?
Well, don't
That
you
is
think
the
that?
answer I've been waiting for
There
this
you go.
whole game. No one's ever bullshitted Peace in the Multiverse. You're the first one.
Riley's
Please.
like, thank you. My God.
Finally, a realist.
Yeah.
You know some of those aliens are fucking jerks.
Have to be. Have to be.
Don't you think though that there's like it all works in harmony overall?
But that's not
with
peace.
this. No.
Okay. You're right.
Yeah.
There are evil dimensions, and we must fight the darkness to
Exactly.
keep it at bay. You said bullshit on Bigfoot.
I'm sorry, guys. I mean, the thing is, words mean things, and people use words to mean different things. And I believe there, absolutely 100% believe there are crazy creatures out there we might not have come across. But then, literally the Bigfoot from like Harry and the Hendersons, I go, oh, that's so stupid. So I think maybe I'm a little confused.
Get out of here right now!
Riley, cut off his mic.
You're done.
Yeah, so I guess I'd say actually probably believe it because I do believe there's absolutely could be like a big ape walking creature, sort of a missing link type guy somewhere in the world.
Possibly. It could be, there's kind of two fields
Oh
of
boy,
theory.
here it comes. You can, the look of smugness on your face.
Actually, I'd say there's
maybe
there's like three classes. There you have the one that's like the
God.
missing link, and then you have the other that it's just like some like undiscovered primate,
And
then you
then-
have the something I'm more toward leans that this it might live more in the realms of the supernatural. Yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
I haven't
we're going to
done
talk
enough
about this during
studying
High
about-
Strangeness for
Oh,
sure.
okay.
A little
Uh-huh.
bit. But before we get there,
Near death.
Well, no, I'm sorry. Because I was alone with my father when he died. I could describe a sort of interesting moment that happened right at the end. If you want to
Please
hear.
do.
Hear it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so.
What if we were like, no, actually, Mike, let's go to your story.
Yeah.
So he's very close to death, and it arrived, and I knew the second it did. It was shortly after I gave him a little teeny bit of morphine because he was having a hard time breathing, and you're supposed to because if they can't like. So anyway, I don't want this to be morbid, so I'm really skipping and just want to share this moment. So. He was exhausted. His eyes could barely keep his eyes open. And all of a sudden, it was as if his heart started racing. And this is the moment of death, really. And his eyes opened very wide, and he turned up and to the right. And as if he was seeing something terrifying or astounding, and he was leaning away from what he was seeing. So he's leaning very far in his chair to the left. He's suddenly very energized and staring at something up and to the right. And all I could think of in that moment was, the heavenly stairs, the white light, his mother, calling for him. And I actually stood up because I was at his knees just sobbing and saying goodbye. But I stood up and I got in his line of vision and I was calling to him and he looked right through me. And I was yelling his name, and Dad, can you hear me? And I was saying, what do you see? What are you seeing? And he was past the ability to talk in this moment, but very energized physically. And then he passed away, and his body relaxed, and he looked back down at me. And the moment that your life leaves your eyes, you know it, like the second you see it. And my reaction was so interesting because a moment earlier, I had been sobbing and saying, it's okay, you can go. And the moment I saw the light leave his eyes, I was hit by a profound peace. And the thought yelled in my ears. It said, you know this. You've seen this many times. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that death, the second we actually see it, we go, oh, I know that, and I knew that, and that's not scary. Now, in hindsight, I have kind of made excuses for all of my experience. So, for instance, with my dad, what I decided is quite possible is that they say that as you're dying, your eyesight leaves before your hearing. And so I don't think he was seeing anything. He may have been, you know how when someone says, well, what street did you grow up on? And some people will look up and to the left and thinking, oh, let me think. Well, sometimes memories you could imagine being kept up and to the left. Sure. And that maybe he was just lost in a memory, and that's what was happening. And then in terms of my feeling of peace in that moment of death, could have been going into shock.
Yeah, I wouldn't reduce it like that.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, I reduced it,
right?
And I'm aware of that, but I doesn't discount my experience. So I agree with you. I don't.
Yeah, I feel like what you described feels pretty profound, and I
absolutely.
Feel like
not only that,
beyond...
it's in common. It's on pace with what people experience in near-death experiences, as well as
Well, this was years later that I started to go, well, Jack, maybe what you experienced wasn't real. So I was coming up with these. I agree.
Wow.
But anyway, so thought I'd share that.
It can be
thank you
both
for sharing.
too, though.
Yeah.
It really can.
But it definitely made me a lot less afraid of death. And it made me feel like, I've died many deaths in my life. I've been there. I've done that, and it's not scary.
Yeah.
So
I always had this feeling that we come into this world screaming and in pain and sort of trauma-induced, leaving the sanctity of a womb. And then I always felt that death would be the opposite of that. Since everything in life seems to has its yin and its yang, I always felt that once death actually took over, it was really sort of anti-traumatic. It was sort of the opposite of what it would be like coming into this world, and really serene and peaceful, and sort of a back to the to that source wherever it is we came before we were born. Yeah. Interesting. I don't know.
Well, there was an incredibly poetic moment right after that, because the ambulance guy came. He put my dad on a stretcher, put a white sheet over him, and he tied him to the stretcher. I didn't know why. I followed him out into the hallway. We had to take an elevator to the lobby. We got in the elevator, and he stood the table up. So now I'm in an elevator with an EMT and my dad, who's now under a sheet, essentially standing up.
Yeah.
My dad was a tall man.
Right.
And that was a really crazy elevator ride. And then I slept at his place alone that night, and I remember the thought that kept coming to me was, please don't walk into this room, Dad. Please don't walk. I just had this. I couldn't sleep because I kept thinking he's going to just walk in and go, Jack, I'm not dead. And then I would just have a heart attack and a stroke and explode.
But I buried a treasure, Jack. You gotta know about the treasure. Well, thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah,
We're going to take another
story.
quick break. We come back. It's time for High Strangeness, as if it hasn't been strange enough.
I know.
We've been doing this podcast for a little over a year and a half now.
Mm-hmm.
And now Jack may not, but Bryce, Riley, you guys know, as exampled by our story of Flicks, the concert lake monster a couple weeks ago over on our Patreon, there's nothing more than I love that I love more than a good summertime monster.
With teens
And lakes and small towns.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So in honor of that, I know we're still, we're in late winter, early spring months, but I want to celebrate the summertime with a little song I wrote called Summer Monsters.
You did not write a song, did you really?
Boom. Ba-doom,
Oh,
ba-doom, ba-doo, ba-boom. Summer monster made a plaster cast. Summer monster, I shit my pants. I met a beast hungry for me. I told my boss, he didn't believe me. Now teenage sons are loading shotguns and trudging into the swamps.
Hello.
That's
Tell
it.
me more, tell me more. Yay.
I've asked it before and I'll ask it again. What is it with hot summer nights and the monsters that haunt them?
It's a great question.
July 1960, the Concert Lake Monster in Millersburg, Oregon. June 1964, the Dewey Lake Monster in Dogriac, Michigan. July 1969, the Lake Worth Monster in Fort Worth, Texas. July 1972, Momo in Louisiana, Missouri. June 1988, the Lizard Man of Skateboard Swamp. And these are only the ones we've covered on the podcast. Just a handful of strange, hulking cryptids allegedly seen during the summer months across America, most commonly in a time period between the mid to late 1950s and the mid-70s. Were small-town folks just bored because of lack of recreational variety? Were newspapers trying to boost sales with tales of fearsome cryptids? Or did the veil between our world and a vast sea of various dimensions grow thin for a few decades, perhaps the result of some strange cosmic alignment in the multiverse?
That one.
I literally wrote pause here for Bryce to confirm. Allowing strange entities a pathway into the backyards and roadsides of rural America. Monster visitations are not limited to the warmer months. One need only to look at the Beast of Bray Road or the Bigfoot of Abear Road to recognize that no time of the year is truly safe from the encounters with cryptids, especially during this era of high strangeness. But just a casual glance at these stories will make you wonder why, especially in the 1960s, were so many small towns run amok with posses, often led by horny teens wielding shotguns, hunting swift, moving behemoths along moonlit ridges and murky banks. What is the mystery of the summer monster? I cannot answer that question today. I can only provide you a simple testimony of a man named Robert Cockrell and the eyewitness account that set yet another town mad with monster fever. This is the story of the Grafton Monster. Also sometimes referred to as the Headless Horror or the Beast of Grafton, this cryptid was first spotted on the evening of July 16th, 1965 in Taylor County, West Virginia, the same state that had recently encountered the Flatwoods Monster and would soon become host to the likes of Indrid Cold and the Mothman. Robert Cockrell, a local newspaper reporter, was driving home from his job at the Grafton Sentinel along Riverside Drive that ran parallel to the Tiger Valley River. As Robert rounded the bend, he noticed a large being, 7 to 9 feet tall, 4 feet wide, with alabaster white, slick, seal-like skin, and no discernible head. Sounds like it might have been a giant penis. It also reminds me of the pumpkin-headed shaped Momo from Louisiana, Missouri. A Bigfoot-like creature with no head on its shoulders. Perhaps its head was just hunched down. We do not know. Neither did Robert Cockrell. He races home, his mind reeling, trying to figure out what he had just seen. Now, it's important to mention that almost from the get-go, Cockrell is very unsure about telling anyone about this. After all, he works for a newspaper and is supposed to have a rational, objective mind. Now, how could he admit to people that he thinks he saw some kind of monster down at the Tiger River? But he just can't shake that weird feeling. In fact, he wouldn't be able to let it go for the rest of his life. Although, few people would likely know that. But more on that in a minute. So, Cockrell goes home, probably doesn't sleep too well that night. Maybe makes himself a stiff drink and puts on a little Hank Williams to calm his nerves and think. Finally, he calls up 2 friends. And the 3 of them head back to the spot where Cockrell encountered the headless beast. Of course, the mysterious cryptid had vanished. But Cockrell and his pals noted that the grass where the monster had been standing was matted down, as if stomped on and crushed by heavy feet. So they walked down to the banks of the river, and now you have to remember this is a small town in 1965. It's got to be dark out there. They searched the river for a while, but they never came across any monster. However, they agreed that they could hear an eerie whistling sound that seemed to follow them. Split up, they go home, they call it a night. Cockrell tosses and turns that night thinking, should he face ridicule and report the story? Ultimately, his curious mind and sense of journalistic duty got the better of him, and the next day, Cockrell goes to work and tells his editor at the Sentinel about the large, white, headless monster he saw lurking on the banks of the Tigert River.
Good for him.
His editor was skeptical, but any newspaper man knows that a good monster story sells papers. So he reluctantly agrees to print a heavily edited version of the tale on June 18th. So the story goes to print, and suddenly people start calling in and telling Cockrell and his editor that they too have seen this Grafton Monster. Now, whenever it's summertime in a small town in the 1960s and there's a monster on the loose, you knows what happens next.
Horny teens with torches.
That's right.
Good, Jack. Good.
Grafton was suddenly swarmed with mobs and posses looking for a headless beast to shoot. People came from all around to capture the monster. And at one point, Riverdale Drive was jammed bumper to bumper with traffic carrying cars and pickup trucks full of amateur...
monster killers.
Yep. And rowdy teenagers wielding pitchforks and shotguns.
What you want to do tonight, Betty? Well, I saw in the paper there was a headless thing. We can go posse on after that.
I mean, it sounds like a good time.
Let's do it.
I want to go.
All right, get your shit.
The 2-year-old. He's welcome to come. Everyone had guns back then. Well, so the sheriff wasn't too happy about all the traffic and posses, so he contacts the paper and Cockrell's editor, who was already skeptical, like I said, and the editor prints a news story that claimed that the beast was just a figment of the town's imagination cooked up by quote-unquote spring fever and a lack of recreational activities.
I knew we should open that new drive-in.
The Sentinel even went as far to suggest Cockrell, one of their own reporters, may have simply seen a vagrant pushing a shopping cart full of cardboard boxes alongside the road.
That's ridiculous.
Looks exactly like that.
Right.
So the fervor dies down. Grafton goes back to its quaint, quiet ways. And the Grafton Monster seems to slip into obscurity. However, Cockrell couldn't shake it. He didn't know what he saw, but he knew he saw something. And it wasn't an escaped polar bear like one of the locals theorized. He actually looked into it, and there were no reports of any such animal escaping from a zoo or circus. Cockrell kept quietly researching, contacting over 20 witnesses who called into the paper, and tracked sightings of the beast within an 18-mile radius of the town. So Cockrell, apparently burned by the way the story ran, decided not to publish his findings. Instead, he mailed his notes to ufologist and paranormal researcher Gray Barker, the man who put Men in Black, or MIBs, into public consciousness with his book, They Knew Too Much About Flying Saucers. Now, Barker, as I mentioned back in our episode on John Keel and the Grinning Man, is a problematic figure in the paranormal field and deserves an episode all on his own. Publicly, Barker published ufology and cryptozoology and the paranormal books because they were hot sellers during this time period. Privately, according to friends and colleagues, he referred to his published work in this field as his cookie books or kooky books. A cookie book would be it's more like a cookbook about cookies.
It's a cookbook!
It's a cookie book. His kooky books. And often embellished or even sometimes created outright hoaxes on his own to perpetuate the UFO mythology. However, Barker never did anything with Cockrell's notes. Cockrell's research on the Grafton Monster was discovered in Barker's files after his death. In their correspondence, Cockrell told Barker that he saw, quote, a huge white obstruction on the right side of the road, standing between the road and the riverbank on a cleared-off section of grass. And, despite the fact that his editor walked the story back to appease law enforcement and the rational minds of men with lesser imaginations, these are my words, not his, Cockrell was certain that the hulking white oddity he saw alongside Riverside Drive that night in June was, quote, very much alive. Barker suggested that the headless horror may have been, in fact, an extraterrestrial. But don't feel too bad for the Grafton Monster. While never quite becoming a marquee name in the Legion of Cryptids, his legend does live on. In fact, he is currently experiencing a massive pop culture movement.
Oh.
Much to my surprise, but perhaps not to many of our listeners, the Grafton Monster is just one of many famous West Virginian folklore beasts, including the Mothman and the Flatwoods Monster, currently featured in Fallout 76, the latest installment in Bethesda Games' massive hit post-apocalyptic video game franchise.
Oh, really?
Thus bringing the wonder and the monstrosity of these summer monsters to a whole new generation of fans.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty cool. I had no idea. And if
Yeah.
you Google Grafton Monster, you're going to get more about Fallout 76 than you are the actual story.
Really?
But it looks pretty cool, and it makes me want to play the game. So I'm going to leave you guys with this today. This is from John Keel's book, Strange Creatures from Time and Space. And this is from the chapter, A World Filled with Ambling Nightmares. And I thought this was a nice way to sum up encounters like those of the Grafton Monster. Keel's talking about where do these monsters go? If these cryptids exist, where are they hiding out? And this is in 1969, 1970 he's writing this. So this is only 4 years after the Grafton Monster. Keel says, we have a theory. It is not very scientific, but it is based upon the known facts. These creatures and strange events tend to recur in the same areas year after year, even century after century. This, in itself, indicates that the creatures somehow live in those areas which we call windows. West Virginia had many unusual creature reports before Mothman appeared in 1966. Either everyone in West Virginia is slap-happy, a theory we vehemently contest since we have visited that state 5 times in the past 3 years, or else there is some place in the back hills where these things are hiding out. Our next fact makes the hideout theory untenable. Posses, experienced hunters, and even helicopters have searched for these monsters immediately after some of these events have failed to find any trace of a hiding place. So where did they go? Mundane explanations do not seem to fit the known facts. We have to stretch our minds a bit and extend our imaginations into the paranormal. The sudden appearances and disappearance of these wild, unknown creatures all over the world, even in densely populated areas, suggest that they have some means of transportation, or else they are deliberately dumped here and retrieved by some form of transportation. Although unidentified flying objects, UFOs, are frequently seen in these same window areas, they, too, manage to appear and disappear before the bewildered eyes of Air Force fighter pilots. Obviously, something far more complicated is involved. Some specialists are now toying with theories involving concepts of the fourth dimension. Researchers such as Alan Greenfield of Atlanta, Georgia, and Brinsley Lepore Trench, a well-known British author, have considered ideas involving interpenetration. They speculate that another world exists outside our space-time continuum, and that these myriad objects and creatures have found doors from their world to ours in these window sectors. Admittedly, it is a far-fetched idea, yet much of the data supports it. No matter what the source, something strange is engulfing our planet. It does not matter if these unbelievables are coming from some distant star or from the fourth dimension. They are here. They have been seen by many. Perhaps one day the Bronx Zoo will have a Mothman and an abominable snowman in cages next to the Komodo dragon. But until that day arrives, we must consider every possibility and every explanation.
Yep. There you go.
Whoa.
This is
That thing
dramatic.
just
Dramatic.
went real out through a portal fast.
I was doing a portal,
Portal
exit.
closed. Portal
Portal
exit.
close on.
I need to hear so much more about interpenetration.
Well, it's just fascinating. I mean, this book, we tease Bryce, we tease ourselves, but like Keel's writing about this stuff, and he was one of the first people to really write about this stuff. And this is really what his books are all about. So when we talk about portals and all this stuff, we really are discussing the work of John Keel. And I am telling you, I'm having so much fun finally digging in and reading his books. And it's all there on the page as almost in real time as it's happening.
I loved listening to that, and it really brought me back to like fourth grade, and I just back when you really were open to believing so. All of that stuff, and that music was amazing. All played live. That was incredible. I need an entire album of that. That was really wonderful to hear.
It does take it, there is that childlike.
It brought back the kid in me.
Yeah, there's a childlike wonder about it, which I really, really love. And we'll be going further and further into the work and the life of John Keel. Obviously,
Well, and
it's in the DNA of our podcast.
There's no other person who spent more time interviewing witnesses and boots on the ground than actually John Keel. I mean, this is a guy who investigated, not only UFOs and Yetis and black magic. I mean, he studied it all, and not just studied it, but he was,
Practiced it.
yeah, he was actually a herpetologist, a snake charmer.
Oh.
But anyway, so even though, sometimes our theories do seem to be a little out there, but they're backed by some great people who shared the same opinions.
Just fun to think about.
Yep.
What do you think? What the hell is that?
That
when you hear
that
stories
really
of the
reminds
Grafton Monster,
that really reminds me, before the internet and cell phones and everything, there's a lot of stories that a lot of people said this really happened, and it's lost to time. And so when you hear them again and you hear the actual people sharing their story, how can you not believe it?
Right. I know.
I would agree.
That's why we have this show.
I'm just happy to hear that some of these creatures are being brought back to life in video games. I think it's pretty awesome that there's,
to a whole new generation.
Yeah.
And it's
absolutely.
interesting too to say, what if there was a period of time where the window between the parallel universes was just thinner and things could get through more? That's
kind of
really neat.
That's where my head's at right now. And there's another book that I just
the world
picked
was
up.
different then. I was there in the 70s, and I'm obsessed with serial killers. Not that I want to be one. I just want to look at the pictures. No, I'm kidding. But I know. But I follow it. I get obsessive with it, and it's not healthy. But the point is, humanity went insane around 1970, and there was a lot of crazy stuff going on, and maybe that there's more. Maybe there was a sort of magical, otherworldly thing happening.
God, who knows?
Well, that's kind of where my head's at right now. And there is a book that I just picked up. I put it on the Instagram, and I can't. It's
I think
not
in
within reach.
1970, literally every third person was a serial killer.
Well, they
Those
say
numbers are staggering.
Check your math on
Several
that.
people in your family, and
Well, there's a whole theory about the leaded gas, right? That the reason that they think that a lot of the reason there was a lot of that going on in the 60s and 70s is because gas still had lead in it.
Oh, shit.
And a whole generation of people were starting to become like fucked up,
Like lead poisoned?
from lead poisoning, and
My
we're
heavy
going
metal
crazy.
count is through the roof.
I mean, I don't know the statistics on that, but that's a really, kooky, fun theory. But anyway, there's this idea that in this book that I picked up that is on the Instagram. I think it's called The Myth and Mythology of UFOs. It's something like that. But there's a whole section on it of calling those years between the mid-50s to the mid to late 70s the era of high strangeness. And that's really where my attention has been focused on in the past few months on this podcast. There's just so much stuff there. All right, well, we have to go. Jack, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah,
Thank you for having
Where
me,
can
guys.
people find your stuff?
Oh, I make silly videos all the time. You can watch them all on Instagram at Jack Plotnick, or my Facebook page, or YouTube. Just Google Jack Plotnick.
Awesome.
There you go.
Jack, thank you for being on the show.
Seriously,
Thank
thank
you
you
guys
so
for
much.
having
We
me.
love
It
you,
was a
Jack.
blast.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Welcome back anytime.
Club member for life. And we're back.
Hey guys, it's the return of Collector's Corner, kind
love
of.
doing that.
Jack was an awesome guest, dude. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
isn't
for
he
bringing
great?
him in, Bryce.
Oh, of course.
I wanted to just ask you guys before we go, is there anything you two want to plug or anything that you're into right now as a collector or consumer that a reader, a listener that you're into that you want to recommend to the audience?
Riley?
I have gone back and I started the X-Files from season 1, episode 1.
Oh,
And I'm
wow.
going to
Dude.
go back and watch all of it. So I'm almost way through the first season, and it is, honestly, it holds up so well. I
Really?
mean, it also doesn't, but
Some of the there's some single story episodes that are like, oh boy,
Yeah.
the Face on Mars episode is like a rough one to get through.
there's a few,
Get.
but just the overall, maybe it doesn't hold up at all. Actually, it's just
No,
the
it does.
nostalgia.
It
But
does.
God, I love the X-Files so much, and it's
Wow.
just so nice going back. And Grace has never seen any of it.
Oh, dude.
She just missed that. It just wasn't part of her.
Is she
growing
enjoying
up.
it?
Yeah, she loves it. But now she's
Wow.
it's getting a little scary for me.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
was like,
That's
we're in
good.
season 1.
Yeah.
It gets way worse.
How many seasons are there?
There
There's
were
like 13 or
well,
something?
no. There were
They-
eight or nine
God.
originally, and then they just did 2 mini seasons. So I think they did 10 and 11
why
mini
can't I
seasons
be
on
on
Fox,
a
plus
show
two
like that?
2 films.
Right.
I know.
I could retire. That'd be great. I'd be done if I did a 13 season alien show. I'd be like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I did everything.
I did everything I want
Not
to.
all David Duchovny. He's like, what's next?
Any Spindrift shows coming up?
Yeah, we have a few. We're playing the Bunkhouse in Las Vegas. If you're in Vegas, that's coming up soon.
This is we're second week of March right now.
Yeah, I think that's this weekend then.
Okay.
And then at the end of March, we're playing the Desert Stars Festival in Joshua Tree.
Awesome.
It's
That's
a great
cool.
festival, and I think it's almost sold out. So
Okay.
if you want to come, get a ticket if you're out in Joshua Tree area.
Great.
Sweet.
And Bryce, what about you? Anything
I'm
you want to
not
plug?
playing anywhere.
What are you reading right now? You're always reading some good books. What
is it? A book called Zen and the Art of the Close Encounter. I think it's a compendium of sort of short essays and articles about just about the nature of the of UFOs and the close encounter. I mean, I find it fascinating because with all these subjects that I think we're interested in, it's easier to define stuff like Bigfoot and gnomes, and they all sort of stay in their relative corner. But when it comes to this UFO thing, this close encounter thing, I mean, it seems to vary all over the place. And there are so many theories and hypotheses about it. And it's really just trying to pin it down is as elusive as the chupacabra. So I'm just trying to figure out where I position myself as a believer and what theories I subscribe to, because I often change them. And I don't know. Right now, I'm kind of I'm sort of fascinated by the connection of the occult and the UFO sighting phenomena.
Right.
I think there's some sort of a connection there. I don't know.
You're going
That's
to be
awesome.
summoning UFOs before we know.
Dude, please
Full
tell us
wizard
when you do.
Oh my God.
As for me, the collection of Adventure Van comes out on March 20th. So if you're a comic book reader, talk to your local comic shop about ordering the graphic novel that collects issues 1 through 5.
Which are fantastic, by the
Yeah,
way. I
thanks,
tell
man.
Michael, I know I'm not supposed to, but I read them to my 7-year-old son
I think
every
it's
night.
fine. It's
before-
PG-13.
He loves them. He has no problem with any of them.
know.
He's like, but just well done, man. They're so great.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you so
So
much.
that's coming out as a single graphic novel?
Yeah,
then?
the
That's
first
so
5 issues
cool.
are going to be collected in what they call a trade paperback. That comes out March 20th from Golden Apple Books. So again, you should be able to get it on Amazon, Comixology app, but BarnesandNoble.com should carry it. Talk to your local comic book store and support them and ask them to order you a copy.
Buy it. It's great.
Yeah, and then
Truly.
and then of course, guys, remember that we are doing our first live show June 2nd, June 1st. What is it? Whatever that Saturday is.
Oh yeah, I do
Let
have
me
a
pull that up.
concert date then.
Yeah, you do. You are playing a live show
God,
at
all right.
Contact in the Desert. Go to contactinthedesert.com. Our panel will be on Saturday, June 1st. Yes, at 2 o'clock. So all the information should be on the website. And of course, as we get closer to that date, we'll be giving you more information.
We have a super secret surprise guest.
Yeah. Who we'll figure out who that person is soon. But also, I forgot, Riley, along with you in my little collector's corner, I've been watching Twin Peaks for the first time.
For the first time?
Ever.
Oh,
and
yeah.
boy, oh boy, is it filling a big old missing piece in the puzzle for me. I was like, shit, I never knew this was here. This is the greatest thing. I think I described it to you last week when we were talking off mic as the, if it is to extraterrestrials what it is what X-Files is to extraterrestrials, Twin Peaks is to the ultra-terrestrial.
Totally.
And I am
Wow.
Dude, Bryce, you are Bryce has not seen
You
it
haven't
either.
seen
and you
Twin Peaks yet?
I've never watched Twin Peaks or X-Files.
What?
Wait.
You never
Yeah.
watched
What?
X-Files?
I've seen standoff episodes, but
You gotta watch
Oh my
Twin
God.
Peaks,
All right.
and then you gotta watch X-Files because I'm discovering what an influence Twin Peaks was on X-Files. And to my surprise, I guess not so much my surprise, True Blood as well. There's a lot of Twin Peaks in True Blood, so that's been really fun to notice. All right, guys, we'll be back next week with an all-new episode. I want to thank my super producer and my co-host, Bryce and Riley. I love you guys.
Thank you.
And we'll be back next week. Thank you to the listeners.
Later.
Bye,
Later.
everybody.
Bigfoot Collectors Club is produced by Riley Bray. Our theme song is Come Alone by Suneaters, courtesy of Lotuspool Records. If you like the show, please rate and review us on iTunes. It really helps get the podcast to more listeners. To support the show, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club and unlock multiple reward episodes every month.